Today's lesson from the Gospel of Matthew that you heard Liz read reveals the story of the wise men, or magi, who traveled from the east to Bethlehem, led by the light of the star to the place where Jesus is born. Magi is a plural word for magos, which was used for priests in ancient Babylon and Persia. Both of these nations were east of Israel. Modern-day Iran and Iraq were where the wise men came from, according to tradition. This is the story that connects us to Epiphany. Epiphany always occurs on January 6th, 12 days after Christmas. That's why we still sing Christmas carols in church. When the rest of society has moved on, we're still celebrating Christmas because we're not finished yet with Christmas. We in the church know that we can't rush through Christmas because we have to spend a little bit of time searching for the light. The light that we symbolize by stars. What better symbol can you use for light? More natural symbols. Stars guiding us to embark upon a journey like the wise men in search of something that will awaken us to the possibilities within us or within our communities and world that can help to transform us or individuals or our communities and world. And that's a difficult search, isn't it? That's a difficult journey because the way to do that isn't always so clear to us or easy to attain. We are all seekers. We are all wise men, in a sense. Like the Magi, the star symbolizes our need for divine guidance. Those aha moments that speak to us and tell us that God is not absent from us, but that God is on the search with us to help transform whatever it is that needs to be transformed in the way that God would see it. The word epiphany, it comes from the Greek and it means to make manifest, to appear, reveal, shine, or give light. Epiphany is going to be several weeks long until the season of Lent, so we have some time to do searching and to seek, which is what Epiphany calls us to. Epiphany is especially relevant for us who live in the northern hemisphere because it's winter. It's the darkest time of year. I don't know how ministers in Australia or New Zealand would preach an Epiphany sermon because it's summertime for them and Epiphany might take on a whole different meaning. But for us, it occurs in winter, in the darkest time of year, where we yearn for light and we want warmth, although it's not so bad, but we want to know that God's presence is near to us. On the Sunday closest to Epiphany, January 5th, today, we hear the story of the Magi, who see this great star in the sky and seek the source of this light and where it is manifesting itself. The Magi represent us. If we were to put ourselves into the Nativity story, you and I would be the Magi. We wouldn't be the shepherds or Mary and Joseph. Because the Magi are Gentiles. They are non-Jews. They are outsiders. Like us, Gentiles, non-Jews. And the good news of the gospel of Jesus is that outsiders should be included in the household of God. So this story is very important and very relevant to you and I. We should take it, we should understand that. Both Jews and non-Jews then, and Paul picks up this message in his letters, are part of the one household of God. Because that's how God sees us, as one family. Not as Christians or Jews or Baha'is or Hindus or Buddhists or Muslims. God sees us as one household, one family, coming from the seed of Abraham and Sarah. This wasn't an easy thing to accept in Jesus' time, and Peter and Paul had lots of arguments about this one thing: who should be included in the household of God. And both of them felt that as Paul didn't follow Jesus, but Paul knew people who followed Jesus, and they felt that was the message that Jesus was trying to get across, that we're family together. Matthew reports that the Magi from the east came to pay homage to Jesus and to offer gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Magi is the plural word. We're not told how many Magi there were. There could have been lots of them. A whole army of Magi. We say 3 because of the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Matthew doesn't tell us what their mode of transportation was. We choose to use camels as the mode of transportation because camels were used in that day. We should have taken a picture of the camels, Joe, Lynn. I didn't do that. We didn't see too many, but we did see some camels around the Dead Sea on our trip. Church tradition has created this story for us sometime in the 4th century. But the church tradition built this story around the scriptures that were authoritative for the Jewish people. And you heard that story in the book of Isaiah that Liz read to you the first lesson for today. It was unfortunate that the reporters of the Jerusalem Post weren't in Bethlehem that day when the Magi arrived to visit Jesus in the manger. I'm kidding, there were no reporters that day. I hope you got that. The lesson in Isaiah says, "Nations shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn." And so we get the kings from Persia and Babylon. A multitude of camels shall cover you. And so, of course, we put the Magi on camels. The young camels of Midian and Ephah, all those from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and frankincense and shall proclaim the praise of the Lord. And so our story is born in the prophet Isaiah. Our story is born in a world that is longing to be in unity with each other rather than at war with each other. And according to Matthew's story, it's the star that reveals. The star was a sign of the Magi to follow. Perhaps God uses the ordinary things of life, like stars and sunrises and sunsets, to reveal the extraordinary. I have a picture on my phone of a sunset that we saw traveling on Christmas Day to St. Louis. It was the most beautiful sunset I'd ever seen. And in a moment of time, the sunset changed from colors of well, you know me in colors, but anyway, from a lighter picture to a darker picture of brilliant reds and yellows. And Chris and I stopped the car and we searched for a place to get out and take a picture because it was one of those aha moments that you don't get to see very often. God is revealed somehow, some way through our daily experiences, through the faces of people that we meet, through strangers who we are impressed with their gifts, through sunrises and sunsets, through stars in the sky, or the images of Hubble telescope that speak to us about the creation of the world. God is revealed in these aha moments. And the challenge for us, church, is are we awake enough to see and experience what is around us every moment of the day, and how God is revealed through the voice of a soloist or the fingers of a musician, the wisdom of a teacher or the touch of a healer. These are the epiphanies of life. These are the manifestations of God among us, in us. And the season of Epiphany can become a time for each one of us to awaken to that presence of God that is born once again in us. That is the meaning of Christmas. That is the meaning of Christmas once we get rid of all the commercialization and consumerism and mindsets that try and steer us into a different understanding. Epiphany Church is a season to be seekers and searchers, to walk and to follow a star. Not a star on TV, but a star in the sky. How is God calling us, each as individuals and as a church, to be light? To be light in our families, in our schools, in our workplace, and in the larger community. How is God calling us and using us to put a little more kindness into the world and love into a world that seems so obsessed with violence and war and division and darkness? The work of discipleship, which we will be exploring for the next 6 weeks, is a journey of wonder into the unknown with sometimes only a faint glimpse of a star in the sky. I imagine it was so with the Magi. I'm sure they got lost. I'm sure they were fearful. I'm sure they wondered, what in the world will King Herod do to us if we don't return with a report that King Herod wants to hear? What should we believe is true about Jesus? What roadmap do we have of Jesus to follow in his way? Which doctrines of faith should we believe? Which church tells us more truth than another? Which congregation is more authentic or successful? What preacher should we listen to or even trust? The journey of following a star is a journey that's filled with risk. It's a journey that is sometimes very disappointing. It's a journey that is sometimes very lonely. And there are times that we might rather just give up the search for Jesus. And many have. And many will. Because the work of following Jesus puts a great burden on the lives of people, yet it is the greatest joy that one can experience. So, people of God, we open this door to 2020, and hope is a gift. Forget the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I don't want them, but I want hope. I want us to choose the gifts of hope, the gifts of peace, the gifts of love and joy. All of those gifts that we celebrated during the season of Advent leading up to Christmas to where we are right now. We are not alone because we have God. We are not alone because we have each other. We are not alone because we have other congregations that are in connection with us doing the same work of transformation in the world that we are trying to do. We are one among thousands, among millions of other people who are seeking and searching. So we come here to this place because we are family. So here we learn together and we worship together and we are in mission together. Here we experience the family tie of kinship and joy. And we shall be a well of salvation for each other in this place and in this time of 2020. So come, Bethany Christian Church. A new era has dawned upon us. Let us be at the task of building a vision for who we will become in this decade. And never forget that God is with us and like the light of a star, guiding us on our search.